Hi, Rachel, and welcome. I'm so happy to have you today on the podcast because you have so much knowledge, and I think the listeners will be mind blown after this conversation.
Hello, everybody. It's Rachel Knight here. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you today about title splitting.
Yes, that's the new black, as we say it. So
It
who
sure
is
is.
so who is Rachel? Tell me.
So Rachel, my name is Rachel Knight. I've been developing since 2005. But if I say to you that for the first 10 years of my property journey, I should say the personal stuff first. So my partner is Andy. I have two grown-up beautiful daughters, and I have three beautiful grandchildren. To my oldest daughter, so I am a grandma. I'm a lady who worked in the corporate world. But like many of us that end up in property, and had that six-figure salary in Experian and Equifax. I was a sales director, but like many of us in property, I wanted to get out of my job and have passive income from property. So I'd call myself when I was in the big corporate companies, I was an entrepreneur. And I did some really wacky stuff and managed some big teams selling into the big UK banks and working all over the world. But I didn't like the politics of the corporate world. And I'm sure that lots of you are smiling to yourself now, thinking exactly the same thing. And so I couldn't wait to find a way to generate income from something that I didn't have to work on all the time, every day. And that's where I came to building a property portfolio from 2005 to 2015. That's where I come to this bit. I did it wrong. I didn't understand because I was in the corporate world and I didn't really need the money.
Can
I was buying properties that would give me nice cash, long-term growth, but not cash flow. So
could
then
you
I got
re
educated in 2000. Go on.
go can you do it again because it came this robot voice
Oh no, so sorry. Right.
from
Yeah.
uh, from uh, from when you started to purchasing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I started purchasing property in 2005, uh, putting my bonus down as a deposit, not using other people's money, because I wasn't educated. And then in 2015, I decided to go off and start getting educated. And I'm still getting educated today. Earlier today, I was on a call with my coach who was in South Africa for 1.5 hours. So I still educate myself today. Since that time, I really did property properly. And very early on in that journey, I realized that for me, I didn't really fancy doing loads of HMOs and that title splits were what I wanted to get my hands on. But when I went and asked people how I could do it, they didn't have a clue. So fast forward, I started title splitting in 2017 to 2021. Now, today, I have some title split properties, some other properties, but mainly title split properties. And this is the best strategy for capital growth and cash flow because I'm greedy. I like both. So that's the story.
So yeah, that's amazing, and that's why we have you here today because you're gonna teach us or the listeners about title split. So what is title split for people that don't understand, and do it very basically basic.
So what I am going to say is it's different in most countries, and I think a lot of your audience are from the UK. Is that correct?
it's
Um,
it's actually mixed, to be
Mixed.
honest.
Okay. So, and if you invest in the UK, or if in your country where you are situated today, you know the words freehold and leasehold. So, freehold is the freehold of the building, it's the land it stands on, it's the ground, it's the airspace above its head, right? Leasehold is the individual separate apartments within the building. Now, some countries have, so in Scotland, if anyone from Scotland is listening, they have freehold. But so this is not a strategy that we would use in Scotland. But in many parts of the world, this strategy will work because it's about splitting away the freehold from the building and other things we do it with land as well.
Again,
as it yeah. Do you want me to start again?
You started
okay, sorry. I wasn't sure.
Splitting after Scotland.
Yeah, so it's where we take the freehold of the property and we split off leasehold apartments, or it's also where we split land from one piece of land from another. But for the purposes of today's questions, I want you to think, I'm thinking about apartments. So we take the apartment and we split it off as a leasehold, right? A leasehold apartment, and the capital value is, so we create 4 units. So we maybe create 5 or 4 units of that leasehold, or we could have 12 units, 12 apartments on one freehold. And today, most developers do not do this properly. The only developers that are doing it properly, if you sat there going, I do it properly, it's because you're selling them. We are talking about with the intent to hold them and generate cash flow and capital growth from the equity of the property.
Good and simple explanation. I couldn't even done it so good. Okay, so how does it work in structure, like in real life? You mentioned what it is.
Yes.
How does it work?
So we have to do this at a time I'm going to talk about what we do in the UK at the moment. So I'll say this because we would, each market may be different. However, the process is going to be very similar. In order to access the capital of the individual apartments, they need to be able to be sold as individual apartments. This means they have to have separate services: gas, electricity, water, the tax on the apartments, whether it's poll tax, council tax, whatever it is in the market that you're operating in the country that you're operating in. So they have to be able to be sold separately. And the target buyer is you and me, a person, right? If we have it all on one block and we have not split it properly, then the only option we have is to sell it to an investor like us, because we're investors and we are consumers. We want to sell this to the consumer, the owner buyer. We do not want to sell it to another investor, because guess what another investor has when he buys that whole block? That investor wants to pay based on the rental income only, not on the capital growth valuation of the building. So how we do it is we have to split it. If we're going to keep it for some time, we need to split it at the earliest point possible to access that capital growth. And I don't want you to think this is just about selling it. This also is to do with mortgage valuations. Because if it's a commercial property, the valuation is based upon the rental income of the different units, right? If it's a residential property, so we can sell it to an owner buyer, it's based on, and surveyors hate this, if one of my surveyors hears me say this, they'll kill me, but I'm going to put it in property investor terms, bricks and mortar valuation. The comparable valuation of other properties in the area. We are looking to tap into that, because guess what? As an investor, I want capital growth and I want cash flow. And this is one of the few strategies available to any investor that will give you both.
Yeah, that's true. And I agree. So can you title split anything?
What you've got to do, so the answer is sort of yes. So if you're asking me, can I title split a commercial property? Yes, you could have individually saleable commercial property units, or you could have one whole building that you sell as a whole. Yeah, you can. You can title split land. So we can take one piece of land and we can title split it away from another. So in property, yes, it works across different asset classes or user classes as we have in the UK. You can split commercial away from residential so that the commercial can go into a pension scheme. In the UK, these are called SAS and SIP. But in wherever you're operating, you are probably going to be able to put commercial property into a pension scheme. So if you can split that commercial property off, you can put commercial, for example, a shop with commercial at the bottom and flats above. The commercial can go into the pension. The flats above can go into your buy-to-let company so that you can rent them out to people. That is title splitting.
Smart. So who are the members you should have in your power team to come if you compare to normal buy-to-let or HMO?
Now, this is where it gets tricky. And why it gets tricky is, and if you are sat here as a lawyer today, or if you were sat here as an accountant today, or if you were sat here as a mortgage broker today, right? You could be part of a power team, right, who is working on title splits, but it is a very specialist strategy. And the important thing is that the whole power team are connected and the whole power team know how to do this. Now, Nana knows this because he's been on a recent call with us, and I'm going to give you an example of where things can go wrong. Now, in the UK, technically, in most areas, this is not Scotland. This is the UK and Wales. So I'm going to talk about the UK and Wales. You cannot create freehold apartments. So to make this simple, if we had one apartment on the ground floor, one apartment in the middle floor, and one apartment on the top floor, that's 3 apartments. Each of those apartments cannot be on a freehold. Nana, you were there the other day when we actually analysed a property and for one of our other clients.
Yeah.
And that property had 3 freeholds. Now, that has been done by a solicitor. We actually don't really know how. It has been registered by our land registry in the UK where these buildings are registered. And it is worth now, because of this, £0.
Yeah.
Because nobody will finance it.
Yeah. He maybe thought it was, the solicitor maybe thought it was Scotland.
Well, maybe the solicitor was in Scotland. I don't know. But what I do know is our clients will bring us a deal to look at and we go, what? How has that even happened? And my business partner, Harriet Dunn, is a commercial property solicitor. So you can imagine how horrified she was.
Yeah.
She was like silent. She was like, you won't believe what I've just found on this one. Because we share this with our clients. And it's so important because you think that your lawyer, and look, can I just caveat that with, there's some amazing lawyers out there who do know this strategy. But the same thing can happen with accountants. Something can go wrong with tax. So it's lawyers, it's accountants. You need a normal refurb team. You need architects who understand the strategy. You need planning consultants who understand the strategy. So the power team, we work really hard to find the right people because this is so important. And we screen out the ones that are not good enough.
Yeah. So basically you need a whole new power team, basically. For doing this, or they need to get educated by you girls.
They do. I mean, the thing, a big one I'm going to say is sourcing agents. We're so keen to have well-educated sourcing agents for our clients because, there are deals out there where a sourcing agent, another one that Nana knows about because he's seen on the coaching that we do, is that the one where there was 12 flats,
Yeah.
but there was only planning for 11.
Yeah.
You know, a sourcing agent was sourcing that deal on and does not understand the implication. But ultimately, when that goes to finance with a bank, it's not financeable in its current format. I'm not saying it can't be unpicked. I'm saying unpicking it is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
So absolutely, the power team have to be on board. The power team have to understand it. The power team, one of the big things we say to our clients who are learning about title splitting is, and this is so important because when I mean, I got a great property education. I said that, but nobody could show me how to do this. And this meant I had to really work hard to work. It's way back in 2017. Had to educate the bank how to do it because they didn't know how to loan me the right structure of the money. So what you need is a power team who get this, and you need a power team of people that can be very creative with their solutions so that we can get round things in the law today that it will not be here tomorrow in the
Yeah.
law. So, you know, we one of the things we talk about is friendly leases, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But, you know, it's about getting the right people who understand not just where we are now and what the law says, but where we are going.
Yeah, definitely. So, what are the benefits beside of doing title splitting? That you mentioned that obviously the capital growth and the cash flow. Is there anything else?
Well, I am actually going to mention that again because I'm going to tell you an example. Is that okay?
Yep.
So and I love real, recent, not made up, proper bricks and mortar examples.
Yeah.
So in 2017, I bought 2 houses and I turned them into 4 apartments. And I'm going to give everybody a tip here today, which is a brilliant tip, is when you're looking at a building that's not flats, even if it's just 2 stories, what you are looking for, the perfect building has if it's just going to be 2 flats, and just going on about, if we're starting small and just trying it with 2 flats, if you were converting, obviously you can build flats very easily, but this is if you are just looking at it. What you're looking for is a building that has a front door with stairs going up, and it has a rear entrance, and that's at the back of the house is probably the kitchen or something coming in through the rear, right? So this means if we don't have to move the stairs, this is probably a good candidate for your first try at title splitting if you've never done it before. And I bought 2 of these houses. And what was brilliant about this was I bought them at auction. We've all done that, or we've bought them off market or whatever. And I paid 57,000, just over 57,666 pounds for each one. But it was, just call it 57,000. And I turned them into flats. And on the day that I'd refurbed them and turned them into flats, if they were houses, they would have been valued capital at 100,000 each, right? The 2 flats, the house. As 2 flats, it was valued at 130,000. Fast forward to today, the 2 houses would have only been worth 120 each, which is 240,000 if I'd kept them as houses. And the flats are worth 82.5 each, which is 330,000. So 240 versus 330. Now what I want you to do is compound that growth over 20 years, and let me tell you where that ended up. The rent, because if it was commercially, well, we'll come to that in a minute. If we were growing them as houses, then they would grow from that point of 240, and the growth was actually 6.73% per annum. It's quite high. I actually think if it was lower, it would still be the same result. When we get to 20 years, the 2 houses are worth 408,000. The 4 flats are worth 531,000.
Wow.
Hang on. This is the most important bit. I haven't told you the most important bit. This is the most important thing. So I know your readers, your listeners now are going, God, would you rather have 531 for 4 than 240, than 400, what is it, 420,000 for 2, right? Now listen to this. This is the point. It gets worse. That's because they were split early on. If I'd have kept them only because now I can sell them as I'm selling them 8. So now today I'd sell them 82.5 each because they're already split, right?
Yeah.
If in that, so that it's 531 divided by 4, right?
Yeah.
I haven't got my calculator, but you can do the maths yourself.
Yeah.
If I had not split them and I had done what most investors do and say, well, I'm keeping them for cash flow, let's leave it till later, they would still be a multi-unit freehold block. They would not be split. And guess what? They would have only been worth $327,000. And let me tell you why. Because my commercial mortgage or my valuation on the block is based upon, and I know this is complex, but it's based upon the rental income and yield.
Yep.
Right? And the capital is based on the bricks and mortar. And the capital is growing at 6.73% per annum. Inflation in the UK has averaged 2% for the last 10 years. So let's assume it goes the same for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's only grown at 2% per annum. Compounded, that is the difference between 327,000 and 531,000. Wow. I am not leaving my capital growth to chance. That is why people should title split.
Okay. So is that why you left HMO?
That is why, hot off the press, I've even just got massive planning for a HMO in Nottingham. You know this. Yep. Nana, you're going to be like, I want to buy this, but I'm selling it. I'm not building it because it doesn't fit in with my core strategy. I don't want to be left with commercial valuations. Me personally, HMOs have got people great cash flow. It's been great to get you here. Now you need to concentrate on your capital and your cash flow. And what I love, and this is the bit I haven't told you, I get the same cash flow as a HMO from 4 flats.
Yeah.
But I can sell them individually as capital growth animals. Yeah. I love it.
And less headache, right? If you compare with the HMO.
Well, yeah, because I tell you what, 4 2-bed flats with 2 tenants each in is 8-bedroom HMO. I'm going to say that again. 4 times 2-bed flats with 8 people in total in the building is an 8-bedroom HMO. 2 people per flat.
Yeah.
Right? That is the same cash flow as an 8-bedroom HMO. But now just look at how the difference between selling those 4 separate units at a 6.73% growth in 20 years versus growing with commercial at 2%. No thanks. I will stick to my flats.
So it's a no-brainer when you put it out like that. And I think people don't think about it. They're like, oh, HMO is the way to get cash flow and etc. But you're totally right. And another thing that I also think about is that, I mean, let's say if you have HMO in the area and the market turns with HMOs, or let's say the neighbor to your house like upgrade their property and rents maybe go down because it's saturated.
That's happening.
Yeah, and then when the commercial valuation come, then you get a lower cash flow and lower valuation when you refinance again. So there's many benefits to
Nana, you're completely right. I mean, I would put this out there to everybody who's listening to this podcast. If you have been doing HMOs for a few years and you have commercial valuations on them, which most investors do because that's the best way to get your money out of the deal. I have done it too. I get it. But here's the but. I've got to say but have you ever, even if it's only slightly, had a lower valuation after 2 years when you go to refinance to get a better interest rate and your property is worth less than it was 2 or 4 or 5 years ago because you're looking at the commercial valuation? If that has happened to you, you imagine that effect compounded over the following years. Now, the other thing, what you said is so right, Nana. HMO markets in the UK particularly, I cannot speak for other countries, but in the UK, we have had saturation, right? And in some cities, not all cities, there's still places where you can do them. And what I would say to everybody is think, once you've hit that magic cash flow number, then it's time to diversify and think
Yeah.
about doing something different. Don't keep doing the same as everybody else. And title split is the strategy of the 2020s. HMO was the strategy of the 2000s.
Yeah. So title split is the new black.
It is. I love that statement. I think I'm going to steal it.
Tag me in.
I will tag you. Nana says title split is the new black. Then loads of people will say, you can't say that to
Nana. I love it. So what are the benefits of doing title split when it comes to stamp duty?
Wow. So there is so many. If you're investing in the UK, I can absolutely tell you. So that one that I did in 2017, yeah. If I told you, because I bought 2 houses, well, I actually bought 3 houses at auction, that I paid 1% on the purchase and I paid 1% on the split. That's it. Wow. I didn't even pay 3%.
Wow. How come?
Oh, well, there's lots of little skullduggeries that these accountants we work with know, and it's all above board. We are completely above board. You know, everything is done so that if HMRC look, but it's in the rules. We just follow the rules of HMRC. We know we work with the right accountants and the right stamp duty specialists, and voila, the stamp duty is not an issue.
Yeah, and that's what I mean again, that you need to have like a different power team when doing this. Yeah,
you do.
So when doing title splitting, what should you be aware of?
My biggest one is you have to have have your strategy set from the beginning. To our clients who we train in this strategy, we teach them to reverse into the parking space. You know that thing when you go to park your car and you reverse in, and then when you come back, you can definitely get out. But if you've driven in and you have to try and reverse out, sometimes because of angles and all sorts of things, you get stuck. So you reverse into the parking space. So reverse into the parking space by having people who know what they're doing, by having a coach who can show you how to title split, because getting this wrong won't just cost you a few £1,000s. It won't cost you £3,000, £5,000, £10,000. It will cost you hundreds. I've just demonstrated that on 4 tiny little buy-to-lets.
Yeah.
Right? It will cost you hundreds of thousands. Think about the long-term strategy you want to have. These are the things, and make sure your power team members know what they're doing, because somebody might advise you to take a mortgage product because it's the best rate, not because it's the best product, right?
Yeah.
And it's as in the best product would be one that I can, for example, I can reduce the, I could sell one product, one flat at a time, and the lender is happy to reduce the security. If you were stuck in a deal and you had to sell, we've met people in horrific situations that have owned properties for years where they don't even know where the freeholder is, and the freeholder is just about to end, or it's just frightening. So what you need is really powerful consultants to help you with your deals, and to understand how this works, and to make sure have the right power team around you to do this strategy. If you do not, right, then you're throwing away your long-term equity, and we don't want you to do that.
No.
We were, we actually help people with this. You know that, Nana.
Yeah.
Part of our alumni, you work with us because we know that people do not know how to use this strategy, and we know that if we help them and we're part of their power team, and it's titlesplit.com, but part of their power team, then they are not going to make those mistakes. We are going to consult with them on their deals. We are going to make sure they don't buy those properties that are not going to work out. We even, with our clients, we have a deal clinic, and they have advice even before they buy.
Yeah.
You need to know what you're doing if you're going to do this strategy. Don't take it lightly. You don't want to mess this one up. Even if you're a clever person, it's very complicated.
Yeah. It is. It is. As a client or a student from as you for you girls,
Yes.
uh, I know that because I read a book about it and etc. But the depth of like it's just different.
It's a master's. We do a
Yeah,
master's in title splitting. And even
yeah,
then, even then we help our clients because we want our clients to have the best portfolios that are just going to deliver them. So that, I mean, I'm in my 50s now, but when one day somebody will say, oh, I'm so glad I listened to Rachel and Harriet then, because we look at this, we're selling these now as individual units and they're
yeah,
all in the right way. The other one to watch out for, and I know that you're aware of this, Nana, is that particularly in the UK, there is a lot of pressure on freehold and leasehold law because in the past, people used to make money out of freeholds. I think I need to say this because this is what people think title splitting is. So what we do is we get a load of properties, we split them, we put all the freeholds end up in one company, all the leaseholds end up, we sell the leaseholds, we keep all the freeholds in a company and we charge ridiculously high service charges. And then in a number of years, when you've developed these properties and you've got all these these freeholds in one company, we then sell those to a company that buys assets, and that company then makes a load of money out of those poor people whose leasehold service charges are going up every month, right, or every
yeah,
year.
yeah,
The UK government, there are people looking into this. This will not continue. The making money out of freeholds will not continue.
yeah,
So the other thing is you have to make sure your leases are future proofed, because we will probably move towards something like a common hold system in the UK where the leaseholders actually own part of the freehold each. Now,
yeah,
that model does not go alongside making loads of money out of service charges. So
yeah.
there's big change coming, and we're showing our clients how to be ready for that change and it not to impact them at all.
Yeah, yeah, that's good that you're future proofing. And like you mentioned, uh, I'm in another mastermind where there's a guy who wanted to buy a leasehold flat, and then because of the freeholder had so high charge on the service charge and etc., the lender said no, they need to change change the yeah the fee,
Yes,
forget lending. So I mean, it seems
yes.
like if it's not the government, it's the lenders now
It's
as
the
well
lenders too.
catching up on it.
It
And
is. They won't loan money on these flats that have got these increasing service charges,
yeah,
because ultimately they're not mortgageable, because the value of the service charges are going to be more than the cost of a mortgage. I mean it's crazy
yeah,
that these builders were able to do that,
yeah,
and now it's a mess. And there's two reasons in the UK that people are struggling to either finance or sell flats. One is Grenfell, where we had that huge fire and all those poor people died. And now there's a whole raft of things around fire that people need to really think about when they're developing these buildings to future proof. And then the other thing is the leasehold and freehold debacle, where we've got service charges going up. And whilst I'm saying that, I can't help mentioning this. I'm going to put inverted commas by the side of my ears as I'm doing this, because I'm doing this on a podcast, is I'm going to put inverted commas and I'm going to say, I'm going to put my neck on the block. Be careful about developing studios that have no fret, because they're basically, in the past, they were called bedsits, and everybody calls them HMO ensuite studios today. In the 80s, that's the 1980s for you young people, and 90s, these were called bedsits, right? Now they're called co-living studios. However, how are you going to future-proof that if new legislation comes in around fire in those studios? Because in an apartment, legislation means you have to have a fire door between a kitchen and a bedroom, right?
mm,
You have to have escape routes. And yet, when you're developing an ensuite studio, I'm saying it like that because it's a bed sit, when you're developing that, you might be getting great cash flow now. You might be looking down the barrel of something completely different when legislation changes, just like it's changing in the UK for energy efficiency. You know, we're forcing people, they've got to get their properties up to a C for the EPC by 2025. There will be changes. So I want my apartments having fire breaks, having soundproofing, and being ready for the future. And that's what we show people, how to future-proof their portfolio and not become a victim of commercial property values dropping. Not dropping, but not growing as fast as the market.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily dropping. They're just not growing in line with capital.
Yeah. So that's great that you're doing that. And like you mentioned about the common hold, because here in Sweden, like literally that's the system that they have here in Sweden, using common hold. And do you think that we're going towards that now more?
100%, yes, do. In fact, my business partner Harriet, who I love dearly, she's not here today. Yeah. I know Nana knows her very well. She's a ex-commercial property lawyer, and she was learning about common hold years ago. We definitely think that we're going to go down a route where each person who buys a leasehold apartment will have a share of the freehold to go with that. So there will be no service charges. Well, sorry, that's not true. There will be service charges, but they will be going into a management company that the flat owners are managers of. So they will have control of their own destiny. And yes, I do think that that's a fairer system. Whether we can't have people, we can't have families trapped in apartments with 5 children and 3 bedrooms when they can't move because they can't sell the flat because the service charge is too high, or they can't sell the flat because it's got cladding on the building. I mean, So there is a massive demand. My apartments that I do in every area that I do them are going up very well and growing, because we create them as beautiful apartments and then people want to come and live in them. Yeah.
Fair enough. We're here to see, but I think you have the right crystal ball.
We do have the right crystal ball. Oh, let's put it like this. We have an alternative crystal ball that protects.
Come again, you said we have an alternative crystal ball.
We have an alternative crystal ball to HMO that protects your long-term capital growth and equity. And for those who love doing serviced accommodation out there, there is nothing better than developing your own freehold building into apartments, so you can put whatever you want in those leases. So you can allow serviced accommodation and there's no restrictions. Or you can allow yours to be serviced accommodation, but the others not to be. So it's great to have control.
Smart, yeah, that's true. So where do you find these title split deals?
Well, I'm not going to give all those secrets away. As you well know, he's laughing as he says it because he knows I'm not going to tell you everything. But these deals are, well, if I take the one that I told you about before, that was 2 houses. So I can turn normal houses. It's like any other market. It's about demand. So if we know there's a demand, then we'll create them. And that could be in areas where young people are leaving home and want their first home of their own. It could be in areas where young professionals are leaving HMOs and wanting to go into their first flat, right? Yeah. It could be in areas where there's high student populations, because when the students leave uni and stay in the town, or city, which they often do, right? Then they don't want to be living in a shared house with all the mates. They might want to go and get their own apartment. And a lot of our people that go into our apartments are people just like that. They've graduated from medical school. They don't want to live in a shared house anymore or halls, so they go on and get, their own place. And they want to rent, high quality apartments. So it's areas like that. You need to look on and off market. And you need to be creative. And if you ever do decide to come and talk to Harriet and I, then we'll share that with you.
Yeah.
Where the creative places are.
So as we both mentioned, that title split is the new black.
It is.
So moving forward, what do you think it like the HMO market will like all the developers and investors will move towards this, or will it still be people doing the HMOs?
So I think our best every so
Come, come again.
people,
You come
but
again,
uh,
please.
so our, all right, okay. So I think so. Title splitting is being done by different types of investors. So there are those who have built a successful portfolio of HMOs, but are starting to get worried about saturation, or they've got a reasonable amount of cash flow, but they realise now they need to diversify their strategy. There's those people. There are people who have training and then decide, I don't want to do HMOs because I want cash flow. What else can I make cash flow out of? Service accommodation. I mean, let's be honest, it's service accommodation, HMOs for residential property,
Yeah.
and title splits. So it's people who want high cash flow and they also want really good capital growth. It's people who are prepared to get themselves the understanding of doing something a little bit more complex that's going to give them a much greater return in the long term. So occasionally it's brand new people to property, but I'd say they've mainly done one or two deals and they go, actually, I want to get this cash flow of a HMO, but I don't want to have the management headache of a HMO,
Yeah.
and nor do I want to be stuck with commercial valuations. And they come and do title splits because they realise that this strategy will work. We are the first people, our company is titlesplit.com. We are the first people that are actually giving property investors an answer to this problem that they've had for a very long time, which is, how can I make this happen and do it over and rinse and repeat, just like I do with a HMO strategy, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not as simple as finding a 3-bed house in a nautical 4 area and turning it into a 6-bed all-ensuite HMO. I'm not going to say that's simple. But there's a template for that, and everybody goes to the non-Article 4 areas. Here's the best secret of all. This works beautifully in Article 4 areas. So rather than running away, you can run towards Article 4 areas with this strategy.
Yeah.
But so it's always people that have got some experience, mainly people who have invested in their education, who understand that they are going to need to get this strategy fast and take it before lots of developers catch on to how to do it properly. Some people will say, well, people have done this for years. What I can tell you, because I'm buying properties and I know this, and they've been doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And they don't know until they come to sell it that they've got a problem.
Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah. That's the issue. Yeah. Okay. So there you have it. So I have 3 questions I always ask my listener, my guests. So obviously you have your children are grown up. So let's say this is for your grandchildren. One book that you will recommend to them. It doesn't have to be property.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say, I mean, it's really, there's a couple. I've got 2, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no
I'm
worries.
quite spiritual. So one book is called Celestine Prophecies. And if people have not read Celestine Prophecies, well, God, there's 3. There's 3. But anyway, sorry. I love that book. The next one is The Secret, because if you believe it's going to happen, it does. And without a doubt, live your life by The Secret. And the one that's about wealth, you've got to say, is Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, we all were taught that we had to go to school, get an education, go to university, get an education, and then one day we could work till we were 70 and we could retire and have a state pension or a pension, right? And we'd be all right, and we'd own our house and we'd have no mortgage. And the reality is that's not how you build wealth. So without doubt, it's not just about building wealth, but it's about having the dreams you want, meeting your own ambitions, setting your goals. So those are the 3 books for me. Sorry, the 3.
No worries. Great books. I
Yeah.
haven't the first one I haven't read yet, so I gotta put that on my list.
Celestine Prophecies.
And one book for every investor, and it doesn't need to be property as well.
Think and Go Rich.
Yeah.
We all, I mean, there's so many good books, isn't there? I've got another one, The Art of Exceptional Living was amazing because that's about living the life you should live and being the person you should be. You know, little tips from that book about if you're thinking about giving a tip, give a bigger tip. Give the bigger tip because you'll walk away feeling good. And when you feel good, you'll be more successful and you'll have more success. And it's all related. So I'm a great believer in anything that gives you helps you enhance your positive mental attitude and your desire and belief that you're going to achieve what you want to achieve.
True. And one property book.
Property book. Well, the one that Harriet and I are going to write on title splitting. I'm going to say that.
I didn't know.
We haven't written it yet. But it will be that one. It definitely be that one.
And I will definitely get a copy, hopefully.
And we'll be giving lots of good tips in there.
Yeah, I know. You girls are full of knowledge. And the listeners and viewers, if you haven't listened to the episode with Harriet, she was here last year actually. So listen to that episode as well. Very knowledgeable woman.
She is. She's amazing.
So we have come to the end, Rachel. It has been a blast, a wealth of knowledge that you have given to the listeners. So how can they reach out to you if they wanna go on this title split journey with you?
Yes.
Or anything, follow your journey, because I see you on Instagram showing your properties and your new project that I'm just following and liking it. Very, very informational.
So there's a couple of ways. So we do have a website, www.titlesplit.com. So you can find us through the website. Now, Nana has a link that I believe you're going to share with your readers, which means that you will be invited if you would like to. We have a masterclass on title splitting, and the masterclass gives you more tips on what you should be doing with title splitting. So that is Harriet and I doing the masterclass. So we normally charge £97 for the masterclass, but we're going to give your readers, your audience, an offer of getting that for £19.
Oh, wow.
So, I know. So I'm going to send that to you because we'd love you to come along and learn more about title splitting. It is the most amazing strategy. And I can honestly say it completely changed my fortunes. And we love sharing that with people. So please come along and we'll send that link. So we'll send the link through Miracle Properties and you will have that so you can join the masterclass for £19 instead of £97.
Yeah, you see? So it's good to listen to the Pengaflip podcast. You get these good discounts.
It is. So there you go. So you can have a discount on that. So or come through www.titlesplit.com and we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. So there you have it, listener. Nice having you, Rachel. And people, don't be stressed. Invest. Bye.
I love that. Bye.